Drench a healthy tomato seedling with a common $2 household tablet. Within 48 hours, an invisible alarm activates inside every leaf. The plant's vascular system floods with defensive hormones, cutting infection rates in half. This isn't backyard folklore. It's a documented molecular pathway published by the United States Department of Agriculture. But you can't just throw random things into your soil and hope for a miracle. Today, we're breaking this down into a strict 5-part system. And wait until Chapter 4. Because if you've been throwing raw eggshells into your garden, you've probably been doing it completely wrong. We've all been there, staring at a sad, yellowing tomato plant that looks like it's actively plotting its own demise. So we head to the store. We buy a plastic bottle with a cartoon tomato on the label that somehow looks more financially secure than we are. Last year, I spent so much on synthetic fertilizers that my local garden center manager practically invited me to his daughter's wedding. But those garden centers have zero incentive to teach you about a $2 solution sitting on a pharmacy shelf. The chemical fungicide industry is a multi-billion-dollar machine. It profits by selling temporary cures to problems that modern growing practices often make worse. We're taught to focus entirely on nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. So we sterilize the soil. We kill the beneficial mycorrhizal fungi that have partnered with plant roots for more than 400 million years. And once we bypass the living soil, our plants lose their natural defenses. They become weaker, more vulnerable, more dependent on chemical intervention, which sends us right back to the store for another bottle. It's a fantastic business model. For them, for your wallet, it's a disaster. But exposing big fertilizer is only half the story. Because in Chapter 2, we're uncovering a microscopic mistake that millions of gardeners make every year. If you've been using this breakfast staple in your garden, you've been feeding your soil gravel. We throw crushed eggshells into the soil and expect a miracle calcium boost. But unless your microbes own tiny jackhammers and a lot of free time, raw eggshells behave exactly like gravel. You've basically built a sharp, calcium-flavored obstacle course for your earthworms. And according to university research, coarse eggshells can remain largely inert in the soil for years. That's the problem. Your tomatoes need calcium now, not 5 years from now. To make that calcium available within a single growing season, the shells must be ground to a particle size smaller than 100 microns. Think fine flour, not crushed shells, not chunks, not powder with visible grit. Fine flour. Your coffee grinder might smell like breakfast for a week. Your tomatoes won't complain, because without that microscopic breakdown, the calcium can't dissolve. And if it can't dissolve, your plants can't absorb it. Which means a tomato plant can literally sit on top of a mountain of calcium and still starve. That's how important particle size is. But surprisingly, this isn't the biggest mistake gardeners make. Not even close. Because Chapter 3 exposes one of the most popular gardening hacks on the internet. A hack that may be causing the very problem people think it's preventing. Epsom salt. The internet's favorite gardening miracle. Gardening blogs recommend it. YouTube experts swear by it. And countless gardeners drop it into planting holes, hoping to prevent blossom end rot. There's just one problem. The science says the opposite. Blossom end rot is caused by a calcium deficiency in developing fruit. Epsom salt contains magnesium sulfate, not calcium. 0 calcium. And in the soil, magnesium and calcium compete for the same absorption pathways. Think of them as rivals, fighting for the same doorway. When you add excess magnesium around tomato roots, you make it harder for the plant to absorb calcium. So the very product people use to prevent blossom end rot can actually make the problem worse. It doesn't solve the deficiency. It can intensify it. Unless your tomatoes are secretly training for an Olympic marathon, Epsom salt is usually solving a problem they don't have. North Dakota State University extension trials have repeatedly highlighted this issue. Yet the myth refuses to die. But if Epsom salt isn't the answer, what is? How do we actually strengthen a plant's defenses before disease ever arrives? That's where things get interesting. Because Chapter 4 isn't about feeding the plant. It's about activating its immune system. And yes, we're about to vaccinate a tomato plant. If you tell your neighbors you're giving aspirin to your tomatoes, they'll probably start watching you a little more carefully. But science has a habit of validating strange ideas. For centuries, farmers and gardeners used willow bark to revive struggling plants. They didn't know why it worked. They only knew that it did. Then scientists discovered the active compound behind the effect, salicylic acid, a simple molecule with a remarkable ability. When it touches a plant, it activates a defense system known as systemic acquired resistance, or SAR. Think of it as a fire drill. The alarm goes off. The building prepares for danger, but no fire ever arrives. The plant believes it's under attack, so it starts mobilizing defenses before a pathogen ever appears. Protective enzymes increase, defense pathways activate, immune responses switch on, and the plant develops a temporary state of heightened readiness that can last for roughly 20 days. That matters because fighting disease requires energy, a lot of energy. When a plant is constantly defending itself against active infections, valuable resources are diverted away from growth, flowering, and fruit production. But when those defenses are already prepared, the plant can operate far more efficiently. Instead of reacting to threats, it stays ready for them. And that allows more resources to be directed toward producing healthy foliage, stronger roots, and heavier fruit. It's like giving your tomato plant an immune system upgrade. Now we have the immune trigger. We have the calcium solution. The question is, how do we combine them correctly? Because in Chapter 5, I'm going to show you the exact protocol. And one small mistake can turn a powerful plant tonic into something that stunts growth instead of improving it. Here's the exact protocol. Start with 1 gallon of water. Then let it sit uncovered for 24 hours. Why? Because chlorine doesn't just kill harmful organisms. It can also damage the beneficial microbes your soil depends on. Next, take 1 plain, uncoated 325 mg aspirin tablet. Not buffered, not flavored, not chewable. Plain aspirin. Crush it into a fine powder and dissolve it completely in the water. Then add 1 tablespoon of ultra-fine eggshell powder. Remember, not crushed shells, not gritty fragments, powder. This provides a readily available source of calcium. Next, add 1 tablespoon of sifted wood ash. This supplies fast-acting potassium that supports fruit development and coloration. Mix thoroughly. Then apply the solution as either a root drench or a foliar spray once every 21 days. And this next part is critical. More is not better. Do not double the dose. Do not triple it. Do not assume extra ingredients mean extra results. Salicylic acid becomes phytotoxic at excessive concentrations. Too much can slow root growth, stress the plant, and reduce performance. The goal isn't maximum concentration. The goal is the correct concentration. Follow the protocol. Let the biology do the work, because the results can appear surprisingly fast. So, what should you expect? Within the first 7 days, the canopy begins to change. Leaves become darker, healthier, more vibrant. By day 14, the root system expands significantly beneath the soil, and stronger roots mean a stronger plant. Then comes day 21. Flower production increases, the canopy thickens, and the plant is positioned to set far more fruit. Now I'm curious. Which tomato variety are you going to test this on first? Tell me in just 3 words in the comments below. And if you know someone who keeps losing tomatoes to blight, share this video with them. It might save their entire harvest this season. But remember, healthy tomatoes start with healthy soil. We've strengthened the plant. The next step is building the underground ecosystem that supports it for years. So if you want to learn how to create a self-feeding, low-maintenance soil system that practically works for you, check out my deep dive on the Amish no-till soil restoration method. That's where we'll take this to the next level. I'll see you there.